Captain Keith.
What's up, Nick?
How are you? Happy Monday.
Great, bud. How are you doing, bud?
Doing good. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Welcome to Boating Tips Live, week number 12. Thanks for watching. And
I thought I was on mute.
I hear me somewhere.
That was me. My bad.
Nothing like the sound of your voice coming from feedback. Do I really sound like that?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't listen to me, but I appreciate everybody sticking it out. Well, cool. Boating Tips week 12. What are we talking about today, Keith?
Just kind of whatever comes up. And the main goal of today is just kind of boating terminology, asking, whatever people want to ask is kind of, it's pretty chill today, pretty easy. We'll get into some, port, starboard, red right return stuff, do a little bit of channel marker things, and just kind of start at the basics, kind of like we're starting off a intro to boating class type deal.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we get kind of carried away just talking about, port this, starboard that, midship, aft, gunnel, all that good stuff. And we're speaking a language, and, sometimes it's important just to get back to basics and talk about what everything is, because it can get a little bit confusing. So we'll kind of put everything into layman's terms and familiarize everybody. If there's anything, I challenge everybody here today in the comments. If you think that you can stump us, I'm going to challenge you guys to stump the captains. If you think there's a word that we don't know or a term that we don't know in the world of boats, let us take a swing at it. And if we can't find it, then we'll go to Google.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for joining. So, all right.
Hey, Jared. Thanks for joining. Well, all right, where are we starting out? Oh, couple questions from last week, okay. Keith. Had Todd Banks ask, will jumping a wake damage your boat hull? What do you think about that?
Sure it will. You're not
meant to go airborne.
Right. It's a boat, but it's common sense. You don't want to hurt your boat. You don't want your passengers to go flying around and stuff like that. We had a sales guy here, did a really infamous demo. It was on a Harris float boat, pontoon boat out here, and somebody was coming by in a galleon, and he was loaded up with people. He said, "Hey, watch this!" And he ran off, man. I mean, it was like a magic carpet ride. The thing was flying through the air.
He's not with us anymore, is he?
But he sold the boat, though. So
yeah, that's funny. Well, I mean, we talk about it. A lot of the time, the boat can always handle more than you can. That doesn't necessarily mean treat it like a jet ski.
Yeah, and it's it just depends on the boat too. But you see a big wake coming, slow yourself down, take it easy, quarter into it at an angle. Don't necessarily take it right square on the bow. You go over go down that first trough, up that first wave, you come back down on the backside, 90 degree to it. You're going to be more apt to stuff it and have some water come up over the bow.
What's a trough?
Trough is the dip before the crest of the wave, and then down the backside and back in the trough.
Cool. So, second one. Let's see, Keith. Barbara Bile. My bolts on motor mounts came loose. Does this happen often? Please. I don't think that's normal.
No.
I would definitely call your local MarineMax service center, get it checked in there before you have a bigger problem than you might have anticipated in the first place.
Yeah, you don't want to be like that Bill Dance bloopers thing where the motor, he's chasing it around and going around like that.
You're talking about the one with the trolling motor where it runs away on him?
Yeah. So there's some funny videos there.
Man, he's got a blooper reel that's like an hour long of him. He's really afraid of snakes, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. There's ceiling fans with rod tips and truck beds and stuff like that too. So,
yeah, got a question already. Kimberly Wolf, coming into port, how do you hail the marina? Well, I think it's a case by case basis, but do they all monitor? I mean, I know that at NYSC, at MarineMax St. Pete, we monitor 16 and 72. That's our station. 72 is what we communicate on. I think it's a case-by-case basis, right, Keith?
Absolutely. So anybody that has a VHF radio, you should have your radio tuned to channel 16. Channel 16 is your hailing and distress channel. But like Nick was saying, if you go into MYSC there, they've got placards up on the channel markers that say, hey, we monitor 16 and 72. 72 is their working channel. So maybe you're going to go into Longboat or some other marina and you don't know what channel they work on. You're going to call them on channel 16. You're going to say, the name of the marina 3 times. So say you're going to go to Marina Jack. Marina Jack, Marina Jack, Marina Jack. This is MarineMax 1, over. Then they reply back to you. Then they're going to ask you to switch to their working channel, which will be channel 68, 69, 71, or 72 typically. Then we switch over to those channels. Then you can talk about where your slip is or if you need fuel or anything like that. When you're done talking, turn your radio back over to channel 16 and just stand by there. Channel 16 is real important to have that on. We had weather roll through yesterday, right? And you got special marine weather warnings and stuff. The Coast Guard's going to come on channel 16 and going to let you know of what's going on. Or there may be a channel marker that's been knocked over or something. Every hour they're going to come on there and make you aware of that situation. So they keep repeating it because as boaters come into the area, they're going to be made aware of it.
Yeah, and let's say that you are in the event that you find a channel marker or you find some piece of debris in the water or you find something that might be a hazard to navigation. How would you go about reporting it on to Coast Guard?
You'll call, like in this case here, we got Coast Guard Sector St. Petersburg right here close, but you just call same thing, United States Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard. This is whatever the name of your boat is. They'll come on 16 and they're going to have you switch up to channel 22 more than likely. That's their channel. And then you can report your position. If you've got a GPS, you'll have the latitude and longitude of where it is. Let them know about it. I've done it several times. Sometimes they'll give you a phone number and you can call them up on the phone and get into a little more detail about what's going on. But call the Coast Guard just like you would call a marina or any other boat.
You see by MarineMax St. Pete, I believe it was the red number 30. Somebody hit it the other night. Now there's a nun out, right? It'd be a nun, right?
Yep. Temporary nun floating out there. Yep.
By nun, we mean a floating red marker, and the green would be a can, right?
Green's a can. Your green floaters look like a can, like a soda can. The nuns are pointed kind of well. See the red marker right here behind me? So that's got that point to it. Your red ones are all going to look like that. The green ones are going to be square.
Cool. That leads us kind of into our next point, talking about a storm on the radio and the Coast Guard reporting it. So if we have Judith Ryan's here as a Sea Ray 23 SPX, beautiful boat. Okay, nothing to do with boating terms, but can you tell me if you find yourself out in a fast storm with lightning, not good, blows in, what is the safest thing to do besides getting back home? Also, what's the best weather app? First of all, weather apps, I use 2 of them. First of all, it's Windfinder, and I was introduced to another one last week called, let's see, Windy. You used that one before?
I've used both of those, and I also like Ventusky. It's an app where it's also a website. You can just bookmark the page. It's Ventusky. It'll predict weather out for in the future for days. You break it down into hours. It'll give you, wind, wave heights, wave direction, all kinds of stuff. It's really good. It's useful. But my radar. So like I was out on the water. I was out on the water yesterday, and as those storms were coming, moving from east to west, coming across the bay, you could watch it on your phone if you've got the radar app, and your boat's going to show up just like a little blue dot, just like what it does if you're navigating down the road, even though you're in the middle of Tampa Bay or you might be out in the Gulf or the Atlantic, and you can kind of see how the storms are moving if you don't have radar on your boat, but you got it on your phone. And you can just kind of, okay, I need to lay back here a little bit. I'm going to let that one blow on by. Now I'm going to need to speed up and kind of run this way to kind of dodge your way through the storms.
What do you do in a situation that, you can't exactly run or hide? or anything like that, it's too late.
Just,
It could sneak up on you here.
if you've got a chart plotter, get out into open water. You don't want to be next to a channel marker or a shipping lane or anything. Like I said, we were in Tampa Bay yesterday, so we kind of got over out in a little area that was wide open, and just so you can just maintain way. I mean, if it's pouring down so hard you can't see the bow of the boat, you've got a bunch of waves, just keep your bow into the waves and just try to almost hold yourself in position very, very, very slowly, giving a little bit of forward momentum. Keep an eye on your compass and watch your chart plotter so you don't get off course. It's really easy to turn when you get into that situation, but just slow down. If you have to, if it's really bad and you've got a cabin, you can get down below, you can get the boat anchored, and just, wait the storm out that way too.
Cool. Yeah, it sneaks up on you pretty quick, especially in the afternoon. I mean, man, that storm yesterday that was moving east to west, it came in hot and heavy. It wasn't very short lived, but man, it was cranking there for a little while.
There was a bunch of individual cells, storms that came through that, and then the lightning was popping and all that. Got pretty gnarly. Hey, MarineMax fishing team, explain to boaters who has the right of way when waiting for a bridge to open. Great question. So, you want to handle it? You got that, or you want me to roll with it?
I'll kind of talk situational. Like what's that? Is it the Blackburn Bridge when you get down kind of towards Sarasota, Venice area? What's the bridge it's not a bascule bridge. It kind of does one of these.
The swing bridge.
The swing bridge. Man, I was going down there. It was me and two other Aquila 44s, and we got on the radio. And it's funny because sometimes those little guys want to monitor Channel 9. We get on the radio. We talk about, hey, who's going to go first? Hey, we'll go first, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, there's little boats that are less restricted in their ability to maneuver, ripping right through the bridge, and you can't really move quite as nimbly as them. But what is the right answer for that? You hear people joke about the unwritten international law of tonnage, but does it come down to the vessel that's more able to maneuver in a given situation?
It's all about the current and the wind. So if you're in a boat and the current is pulling you towards the bridge, you've got the right of way. So the boat that's on the other side, right? You guys are both there waiting. If you were to lose power, it's easier for that vessel that's getting pushed away from the bridge. He's going to be safer. He's in a better position. So they can just stand back and wait and let that boat that's getting sucked through the bridge come through with the current and then go on by. Then once everybody clears it out that's getting pulled through, then you go, and then the round B or the next group of boats are going to go and proceed up against the current and go through the bridge that way. So whoever's getting pulled towards it has got the right of way going through.
I knew that, Anthony. I was just testing Keith.
Okay.
Nah, you got me there. Guilty as charged. So, or do you just Forrest Gump Lieutenant Dan it? No, don't jump off the boat. Right?
Right. All right. How about just basic port and starboard? All right.
Right. So you got the channel markers behind you. It might be a little easier for you to. It's kind of reverse.
We got like 70 people on here with us right now watching this, so I don't know everybody's boating experience, but so the reason is port and starboard. So does Nick and I are looking at each other here. His left could be on his side. My left's going to be totally different if we're facing each other. So as you're standing on the boat looking at the bow is the front of the boat. Okay, the stern is the back. As we're facing the bow, standing at the helm, the port side is the left side of the boat. The easiest way to remember is port has 4 letters, left has 4 letters. Okay. Starboard is the right-hand side of the boat. You've got colors on your bow light. They're red and green. Your port light is red, just like port wine. So the red light is your port light. Your green light is your starboard light. And you go, why is it port and starboard? Where'd those terms come from? Why not just left side or right side? So back when the sailing ships, or not even the sailing ships, back when they were just oar powered and stuff, where they put a sail on it, to steer those ships, they had to have like a rudder sticking out of the back of the boat, and that was called the steerboard. And for the most part, people were right-handed, the men that were on these things. So they set the steerboard up on the right-hand side of the ship, on side of the boat, so they could use that steerboard to steer. So when they came into port to load and offload their goods, they would tie the ships up on the left-hand side of the boat up to against the walls or the docks, so it didn't interfere with that steerboard. And then eventually then it got into like celestial navigation and the starboard and all that, which would be set up there next to that or the helm. So they didn't want to have to move that equipment around. So you got your steerboard or your starboard side is the right-hand side, and then the port side is the left side. So you got red and green, port and starboard. But then when it comes to channel markers, people are going, well, a lot of people have heard red, right, return. Well, what exactly does that mean? Let me get up here for a second. Slide this out of the way. So if you've got still see this all right? We good? All right.
Where'd I go? Can you still hear me, Keith?
Yeah, I think they just shifted us over here real quick.
That's fine, probably.
So a red, right return means these red markers you're going to keep on your right-hand side as you're driving your boat in. These red markers are always triangle shaped. The greens are always square. Your reds are even numbered. The greens are odd numbered. The further up a channel you go, the higher they go. They go in ascending order. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as you cruise on up the canal. The red right return markers are going to look just like this, nothing else on them. Once you get into the intracoastal waterway, your red markers are going to have a yellow triangle on the top of them. Your greens are going to have a yellow square on the top of them. These little yellow symbols is what's telling you it's intercoastal waterway. And when you see that, you're going to keep these yellow triangles, which are going to be on these red ones, to the continental USA mainland side. So it's basically it's red on the right heading to Texas. So if you're in, let's say, Fort Myers, Florida, and you're coming up here to Clearwater, the whole way up the intercoastal waterway, those red markers are going to be on your right because the state of Florida is over on your right. The greens are towards the Gulf or towards the water. So if there's an imaginary ditch, an intercoastal waterway that ran from New England all the way down to Key West, those red markers with the yellow triangles on them are going to be on your right-hand side because the USA is on your right, the Atlantic Ocean is on your left. Now you're at Key West, and we're going to go all the way around to Texas. The whole way around, the reds are still on your right because the USA is still on your right-hand side. The greens are out towards the Gulf of Mexico. And it all has to do with the little yellow symbols. If they're blank markers without them, then it's straight up red, right, return. Going from a bigger body of water to a smaller body of water. You're in the Gulf or the ocean, you're coming back in, you're returning. If you're on the intercoastal and you're pulling into a marina, you're going from bigger to smaller, then the reds are going to be on your right. The markers never move. So when you're going back out, the greens are going to be on your right and the reds are going to be on your left. Hopefully that makes sense in a couple minutes shakedown, but it's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, everybody gets so hung up on the whole red right return thing, but I think, just stay between them, right?
Stay between them.
So, and sometimes I get why it can be a little confusing too. Like when you might be using your, a set of houses or the shoreline at your reds, or they'll only be greens or something like that, or vice versa.
Well, a lot of times you may not see a red and a green. You might only have, green.
Come out of the grill.
Or you might only have reds, right?
Only greens except for one.
Right. It's because it's deep water way down to the south, to the side that when you're coming in, the red side. So they're worried about keeping you off that shoal that's going to be on your port side where those green markers are as you're running in, but there's plenty of water out to the right, down to the south. Same thing like going into your store or pretty much anywhere in Pinellas County or Hillsborough County. Think about how all the waterfront property was all built. Land didn't look like that. Nice little fingers and up and down the islands and all around and all that. It was just all flats, all low-lying water. So when the builders developed those areas, they built the seawall up. Then they scooped, they dredged all that material and from the bottom and dumped it back inside those seawalls to build the landmass up. So then once you got the land up, now we've got a man-made ditch, a trench that runs right off those seawalls. So you got the seawall, you got the dock, and then you got the deep water right off the end there. So if you're searching for deep water and you're not sure if you're in an area you're not familiar with, you can pretty much guarantee you can go right off the tip of the docks and kind of work your way back around and to get out into open water somewhere.
Yeah. I always like seeing the boats around me on lifts or docks or something. Like, I mean, if I'm in a 27 Dauntless and I see a 60-foot Hatteras at somebody's dock, I know there's probably enough water for me around that given area.
Yep.
But always gotta keep your eye out. I've got a good question here, Keith. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this one. Got Brian Drapp. What about shipping lanes? You want to talk about shipping lane etiquette when you're a smaller boat?
Stay out of them. They can't stop, right? We're with kingfish, right? Egmont Key, you got a 90-foot hole. There's guys there tarpon fishing, kingfishing, all kinds of stuff. Our boats draft 3 feet, 4 foot, 5 foot at the max, right? Why do I need to be in 30, 40, 50 feet of water in a shipping channel? You know, if you look at your chart plotters, the way I set them up, I've got videos. You can look on the Boating Tips videos, Ray Marine, Simrad, whoever it is, whatever it is, with the Navionics app or the Navionics chart cards. I've show you how to go in there and set up anything deeper than 6 foot is going to be white on your background. The light blue is 6 to 3. The dark blue is 3 foot or less. So you keep your boat in the white, you're good to go. The light blue, you're going to be paying attention to what's going on depending on what the tide. All those numbers are depths at low tide. So, you know, running down Tampa Bay here, I don't go right down the middle of the channel. I stay off out of the side and all that stuff. There's no reason to.
Yeah. Especially when you're a 20-something foot boat. All right. Got some moving on here. What does inboard versus outboard mean and the benefits of one over the other? So an inboard engine, you're not going to see it on a boat. If you walked up to a boat and it looks, hey, where's the engine on that boat? It's probably an inboard. The outboard engine, the Mercury's, your Yamahas, clear as day right there, and that's when you might see 2, 3, 4, or whoever, how many engines on the back of a boat, clear as day. Inboards are generally going to be your diesels, and on your larger boats like that, you know, we talk about the benefits to inboard versus outboard, outboard versus inboard, and it's crazy how much it changes wherever you're at. I mean, I saw a picture the other day of one of our I don't know if it was Lake of the Ozark or wherever, one of our lake stores, and you looked at their showroom and there wasn't a single outboard in there. It was all inboard Sea Rays, and you come down here and every single one has an outboard on that. Why is that, Keith?
Well, just, you know, for around here, it's the maintenance aspect of it, right? Salt water is tough on them, you know, manifolds, risers, elbows, you know, every couple of years. And, you know, that's a regular maintenance item. That's not a warranty covered item, as I understand. So it's, you know, it's very important to flush them out. These outboards can take a lot more salt abuse, and you know, it's very easy to flush them out. You need to flush them out. Bruce talked about that last week, and all that. But stern drives here in the saltwater market is definitely, you know, way down.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, there's different types of inboards too. You know, if you guys want to get real technical here, I mean, you've got your straight shafts and stuff like that. You've got your pod-driven boats. You have your IPS-driven boats. You've got inboard, outboards. You've got V drives. I mean, you can even break it down even further. Whereas, you know, you're talking outboards. Pretty much what you see is what you get.
Yeah. Okay. So, like with your inboards, though, like say, you know, your bigger, your diesels or your the Aquilas with the Volvos, or the Galleons and all that. Those boats they're not getting hauled out of the water to where the water's draining out of those engine blocks and then leaving little bits amount of salt water in there that's going to corrode, and the salt crystals are going to form and all that stuff. The water stays liquid, so you don't have that air in there to create the problems, the corrosion and stuff.
Cool. All right. So you got a lot of good stuff here. Let's get to the fun stuff first. What? Here we go. This is what I wanted to talk about with you, Keith. Define the term yacht certified. So, a lot of our boats over 27 feet, they'll have a sticker on them that says yacht certified, whereas the ones underneath that will have some sort of other sticker that, is your capacity, like, 10, 11, 12 people or whatever. Then you get up towards that, it's yacht certified. What does that exactly mean? One. Two, what does it mean when a boat's yacht certified? And, how does that change the way that you go about being safe on the water?
Well, it's real important to pay attention to your placard that is on there that does tell you the limits of your boat, whether it's maximum horsepower, maximum persons, and maximum combined weight. Once you get into the bigger boats that are yacht certified, they have to go through a rigorous, I think it's NMMA certification process every year to show that they stand, to meet certain standards. And then as far as the vessel, capacity on that, there's a formula that's roughly the length of the boat times the beam, which is the width, divided by 15, which is going to give you, way more people on the boat that you're ever going to want to have on the boat. So it's just kind of common sense. Once you get up to a certain size, if you've got that yacht certification, kind of a rule of thumb, as long as you got a seat for everybody to sit in and you're not overpacking it, that's it. And then no matter what, but you're going to have a weight capacity on there too, a limit that's, to a point. Like Boston Whaler's the only one that gives you the swamped capacity, which is actually the weight that it would take to actually push it down and neutralize it down flat. So Gabriel from India. He's on there.
Wow, that's awesome. Everybody's tuning in from all over the world. Hey, Gabriel. Thanks for tuning in, buddy.
What is the rule for using radar around other boaters and marinas?
It's a good question.
So if you have a radar on your boat, you are required to use it. You have to use all means possible to maintain a safe lookout. However, when you're going through the locks, let's say, going from East Coast to West or West East through Florida, all those lock keepers, lock tenders, they're going to have you, before they let you in there, they're going to tell you to shut the radars down or put them into standby. They just don't want to have the microwaves or the pulsing coming out of there. Radars have changed now and stuff too. Like Simrad's got one, they call it's huggable. It's broadband. There's no harmful effects or anything like that. But, those people, you don't know it. So it's just it's common courtesy. It's respect. Once you make it into a marina or you're close proximity to somebody, go ahead and throw it in standby. If you're going to be using it again shortly, definitely use the standby feature instead of powering it off, because then it's got to repower on again if you do shut it off. But
don't be the guy at the dock with your open array keeping the seagulls from landing on your boat.
Right.
It happens. All right. Do's and don'ts. All right, let's talk about this. What about dock ropes, Keith? Why aren't they dock ropes? What are they?
Once a rope is on your boat, it's a line. There are no ropes on your boat.
So not ropes, lines, and if they're not maps, then they're charts.
Correct.
You got any other good ones?
Let's see. How about the figurehead of a ship, of a yacht, like the old, like the terminology, like head, right? Is the head. Well, it's not a toilet on a boat. It's a head. Now I was researching, I couldn't exactly find this, but this is what I've been told how it came about.
There's fenders and bumpers.
Those old the old ships, when they had that figurine, that figurehead up on the bow of the boat, like with the long flowing hair or the eyes and all that stuff, there's a religious symbolism, and they felt that by having somebody up there with eyes looking out would help the ship sail across the sea safely and get across. But then at the same time, you also had those, like the mesh nets or the little nets hanging out off the ends of the up there by that figurine head. So when the sailors needed to use the restroom, had to go to the bathroom, they would walk up to the head of the vessel and they could sit on there, do the business, and then come back. So that's how the terminology came about. Got it going to the head. So, and then if they fall overboard, then you got man overboard, then you can throw them a line and haul them back up.
There you go. Well, I learned that about the head right now. So thanks for that, Keith.
Nick allows bananas on the boat.
I do not allow bananas on the boat, and I'm gonna catch a lot of heat for that. I've seen too many coincidences, Keith. I'm sorry. I've seen too many bad coincidences with bananas showing up on the boat.
All right, James.
That's a good one.
Guidance about anchors and rode. I see so many discrepancies. Thanks for supporting safe boating.
On what kind of anchoring you're going to be doing. You know what I mean? Are you going to be anchored up for quite a while, or is it rough? Is it calm? I mean, what do they say? I've heard 3 and 5 for when it's calm.
Yeah. So
and
Jeff's got the same kind of question there too. So yeah. Rule of thumb is, 5 foot of anchor rode out for every foot of water you're in. You also have to take into account for the distance from the bow of the boat, down to the water. So you're gonna have to add a couple extra feet in there. If it starts blowing up, like you're saying, it's getting rough, you may have to let out more scope, let out more anchor rode. You want to have a good kind of belly in that line, so that when your boat's bouncing up and down and heaving around, you're not pulling up on the chain. It's also good to have a good section of chain on that anchor to keep that anchor, secured. You also need to set the anchor, right? If you just drop an anchor down on the bottom and you back up and you don't pull on it to dig those flukes in, if it's a Danforth anchor or a plow anchor, into the ground, then it could, if you're going real lightly, it could just kind of slide along and you just may keep on drifting. So, make sure you set it, but figure 5 foot of anchor rode out for every foot of water you're in as a general rule. If you're all chain, you can get away with less, right? It's heavier. You're going to have more of that dip going down to the anchor.
Everybody gets so caught up with, they're having the right anchor, being the big enough anchor, which is important, but having a little extra chain or having the right amount of chain, I think goes a long way too. And
hey, James, I don't know what what the bottom of that lake is like. I mean, if it's mud or stuff for the, I think lakes are a little bit different, perhaps, with the bottom, consistency. Heck, when I was a little kid growing up in the little rowboats, stuff like that, all we had was like a little mushroom anchor, right? But that's obviously not going to work for he's in a 20 to 30 foot bow rider there. Just maybe get some more chain and use a little more scope.
Yeah. Different. Here's what I want to talk about with you, Keith. Different dock lines. What do they do? So when you're tying up a boat, everybody talks about their fenders and putting enough fenders out and stuff like that. Realistically, if you tie up a boat the right way, you might not always need those fenders. So what are you working with? You're working with your bow lines, so 2 lines up on the front of the boat. You're working with your stern lines, which are obviously on the back of the boat, and then you're working with your springs, which are the most important lines that you can tie up with, especially when you're doing stuff by yourself. You've got your bow spring and your aft spring and stuff like that, and you move a lot of boats around by yourself obviously, and you don't have, a mate or whatever, a dock can assist you. So how do you use the spring, in those situations? What's the first line you go for when you're pulling to a slip?
If it's a situation where it's, if it's calm, it doesn't really matter a lot of times, right? You pull in, the boat just stops and you can grab lines. But if you got the need to if there's a reason to grab a line first, it's going to be your spring line that's going to come from the forward part of the dock. And you're going to put that, if you're backing into a slip, then you're going to run that either back to the middle of the boat or to the stern cleat on the side. And what that does is, as you're backing into the slip, as you grab that when you're coming in, you put it on there, your boat's not going to have the ability or the opportunity to make it all the way back into the seawall. It's going to stop you before you can, hit anything back there. And that'll hold you, kind of wedge you in the slip. And then you can go from there and get the rest of your lines. So you're probably looking at your spring line, and then just depending on which way the wind's going, whether you do your bows or your stern lines first.
Yeah. One thing that Brad always used to tell me is, the longer the spring, the better. Sometimes you'll see guys, they'll tie up at the dock at high tide or whatever, and the spring line on a 40-foot boat will be 2 feet long. And, the longer the spring, the better, to account for those tides. And, you're not going to hang the boat up on its side.
Yep. So it's a fulcrum. So, if you got a real long spring line, it can be you're going to be tight because it's just, going to move up and down. Just by the time it gets to the boat, it doesn't even, you can't tell.
Yeah. And even what we'll do, for instance, when you're not on a fixed dock, and you've got a pylon here and a pylon there, what I like to do, you too, you'll cross the lines up on the front of the boat, so you gain a little bit of length on those bylines. So you might put that pylon, that dock line that's coming from the pylon on off your starboard bow. I'll put it on my port bow cleat, so you can cross them up front to account for those tides, when you're at a fixed dock or whatever.
Yep. The longer you can get them, the better.
Yeah. And I'll do the same on the stern too. Then of course you got floating docks where you don't need to do that, and it's just kind of easy as it is.
Floating docks are great. So Lisa's got a question here. At what length does a boat become a ship? So according to the Coast Guard, and what we all learned in sea school, and we were going through all that. So you may hear the Coast Guard come on, small craft advisories. Okay, small craft. What's a small craft? A small craft, believe it or not, is actually a 20-meter boat and smaller. So basically 63 feet and under is considered a small craft. So we've got boats that we, call yachts, a 55, a 510, whatever. So a yacht can still be classified, technically as a small craft under your 20-meter limit there.
Cool. So it has nothing. So what makes it? I guess I've heard a lot of folks under the impression that if a boat has a head and a place to sleep, then that automatically makes it a yacht.
No, I think it just makes it a tax write-off. So,
Cat's
a head and a place to cook.
Is that what it is? A place to cook?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Let's talk about the pecking order. New reels catch fish, so purchase some willingly. Willingly. So I'm gonna need to write it down. I got you answered it a couple weeks ago, so NRC FS new reels catch fish.
So purchase
willingly. So we got your N at the top of the pecking order when you're on the water.
Not under command.
Not under command. That means that captain's dead, right?
Yep.
Or something along those lines.
There's no steering. It's not under command. It's disabled.
R, you got your rams, restricted in your ability to maneuver. So that's a vessel doing its work, right? It might be a vessel painting buoys or something like that, huh?
Buoys, a long line of trawling, I mean, yeah. So they can't maneuver around things due to the circumstances of what they're doing. Correct.
Then your C's is going to be constrained by draft. Yes, we'll call it CBD.
Yeah.
Means it's going to be, it cannot go out of the channel. So we talk about constrained by draft. We talk about those little boats going into the shipping lanes and stuff like that. Those big boats, they can't get out of there. So therefore, they're going to have the right of way, aren't they?
Yep, they sure do.
F, your fishing boat.
Yep.
But that doesn't necessarily mean Billy Bob fishing in his center console casting a line, does it?
No, that's once again, that's like your trawlers or your shrimp boats or whatever, to where, they can't easily, quickly maneuver because due to the nature of the business they've got going on. It's commercial vessels. Green over white.
Green over white, fishing at night. Then your S, which is going to be your sailboats, obviously. This is where it gets fun. P, power. Now, let's say that this sailboat is underneath engine power. What does that make it? It makes it a power boat, doesn't it? It's no longer a sailboat.
Correct. It's a boat with a stick sticking up the middle of it.
And then S, so sail, power. Come on, Nick. What's the last one? Keith, bail me out here.
Seaplane.
Seaplane. At the very bottom of the pecking order.
Correct.
And then W, wing in ground. You probably won't ever see those. I'll post that there later in the comments if you want to wonder what I was trying to flex my muscles to redeem myself from earlier about my knowledge as a captain, but I'll post that a little bit later. So there we go. Caleb Peeler, thanks for joining us. Drop some good questions down below. Looks like Jeff has another good question here for you, Keith. Any advice for trailering a boat with heavy crosswinds? There you go. You know the scenario at the end of the day with some bad weather on the horizon, big wait at the launch, someone backs their trailer down at the ramp for you, and you have to try to get your boat on a trailer evenly without the stern blowing off course. I find this particularly hard with a pontoon. You got a good point. Some guideposts might help with that, huh?
Yep, guideposts, and the main thing is just don't back your trailer so far deep down into the water where the stern's got that ability to swing around like that. I mean, if you could, get the bow up on there and get it stopped, and then if you practice it a little bit, if you've got somebody working with you, I mean, they can even, as you're touching the trailer, you're up on there, they can even back down a little bit if you can't power all the way up on it, and just kind of like both of you slide. So as the trailer's coming down, the boat still is kind of, you're just holding power steady and kind of riding it up. But if you're in an area, if you're having issues with that, yeah, if you can get the guideposts, the uprights, pontoon boats are tricky because you just got to hit that, that channel just right going up in there. Like a lot of our Sea Rays and whalers, they're kind of mated to the trailer. They just still, it's easy. All you got to do is get the bow between the bunks and you're locked in, right? Pontoon boats will give you that, Jeff, are a little more difficult. It just takes a little more practice.
Yeah. I always find it tough. I'll tell you, my Achilles heel is loading and unloading boats on a trailer by themselves. And then you see some guys that just have it down to science. You have any tips for doing it by yourself at the ramp?
Yeah, get your trolling motor like that commercial, right? Backs down in there, spot lock, drives it around, puts it back up in there. Yeah, if you're by yourself, if you got your bow, you take a bow line, have it tied off to the cleat, and then make sure it's long enough to where your boat can slide off. But when I would do it, I'd have the line on the bow cleat, and then I'd have the other end of the line tied off to the trailer. So as you back down, you hit the brakes, shake the boat loose, the boat slides off, but you still got the line tied to the trailer, so the boat's not going to just go out into the lake or the Gulf or the bay or whatever it is, but it's still secured to the trailer or your truck. And then you can get that line and then just, walk it on down and tie it off onto the tie it off onto the finger pier and go park your truck and trailer.
Cool. Got Brian. The power on a trailer inland is sometimes illegal. I get that. Some places, want to avoid your power loading.
Yeah.
So what do? You just winch it on up, huh?
Guess so.
Winch it on up. Make sure you have a good winch.
Hey, speaking of trailerable boats and anchoring and all that kind of stuff, one thing I want to make a point of right now, scallop season's in full swing here right now. The lobster season's going to open up in the Keys. Very important to be safe out there, have respect for the snorkelers and the divers that are in the water. And I've got a dive flag right here. So you can see this. If you see this out on the water, this should be the highest thing on a boat. That's a diver's down flag. That means there's divers in the water. So when you're out in the open water, you've got to maintain at least 300 feet distance from that diver's down flag. The snorkelers or divers should technically stay within 300 feet of that. I know sometimes it's easy to wander off. You're looking at the bottom and you just go. So it's a two-way street, man, right? So when you're in there snorkeling and diving, pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to where you are, look back at your boat and stay close. If you're not getting anything there, you can pick your anchor up and drift along and then get set up in another area again. But, there's boats scattered out for miles and miles out here right now. So when you get to the scalloping grounds where you see all those boats, slow down to idle speed, have people on your boat, maintain lookout, and be looking around for those people. Now, if you're in the bay or in closer proximity and all that, like say around a bridge, the diver should stay within 100 feet of that. But same thing, slow down and proceed with caution. And like I said, these have to be the highest thing on your boat. They can't be obstructed. And then when you're moving your boat, the people are out of the water, make sure you take that flag down. The FWC will pull you over and cite you if you're running your vessel with that flag still in the up position. So it's down and up constantly anytime you're jumping in the water.
Pretty good scallop season this year compared to last year, huh?
We're going to find out here in a couple of weeks, we're going to do a getaway up to Crystal River. Pasco County just opened up. Everybody's stuff I've been seeing there, they seem to be doing pretty good. I guess it's hit and miss a little further north. So probably can't be any worse than it was last year.
I know, right? That was tough. Slim pickings.
Hey, so the MarineMax fish team, does everyone on a boat need a fishing license? Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, right? Do you need a separate license for scalloping?
No.
So it's all tied in. It's not like a snook permit or a lobster permit, because you need a lobster permit if you're going to go lobstering.
Yeah, correct. But yeah, there are no snook or scallop endorsements or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
But yeah, so if anybody's fishing on the boat, yes, they need to have a fishing license. If you're part of the group that's out there scalloping and all that, yes, get a fishing license.
They make it easy too. So Keith, is it free for senior citizens now?
I don't know. I'm not there yet.
I think it is. I don't quote me on this. If anybody knows the answer, put it in the comments. But I think for senior citizens, it doesn't cost you any money. It also doesn't cost you any money, if you wanted to just do a land license. I'm pretty sure if you're not going to be on a boat. But I mean, it is what it is. But
yeah, I think it's like age 65 or something.
They got that. Cool. So I don't know what you have going on for the rest of the day, Keith, but we got about 60 people watching. If you guys have any questions, while we're hanging out here, drop them down there for the next few minutes. There we go. We got confirmation that it's 65 and over. It's free. So if you guys have any knowledge you want to drop below, we're going to go over a couple more boating terms. everybody's watching got some good questions. So go ahead and pick our brains a little bit. Maybe we can pick your brains too. Let's see. Ship. What are the chines? What are the chines and how do they work on a boat? Chines on a boat.
Go ahead.
Love you too. So you look at the bottom of a boat. You're looking at a boat up on a lift. It's not going to be a perfect V. You're going to have your chimes, and pretty much what it's going to do. I mean, it's going to improve your ride. I mean, Boston Whaler all the time talks about the reverse chime technology and stuff like that. So it's going to break the waves. It's going to help you up on plane. It's going to increase efficiency. Then, of course, you want to go more in depth to that. Then you've got, your step tolls and stuff like that you see on a lot of boats nowadays, a lot of your go fast boats. Another good point about the chimes, it's going to be when you're configuring your lift or you're configuring bunks on a trailer. You don't want those bunks sitting up on there because it's realistically not going to be the strong point of your hull. So you're going to want your bunks to either sit, on the inside of them or, wherever it might be. There's little notches down there. That's what your chimes are.
Yeah, you want to make sure your boat's level and on your lift, So, before you purchase a boat, or once you get one, if you can, go and measure, then you can see how far out, you want your bunk spaced and whatnot to let her sit on there nice and level. So it's not, rolling off or popping off the chine and then you got gel coat damage and stuff.
That brings me to another point too. We deal with some really great lift companies in the area. One of them, I usually work with Pelican. They're pretty good, pretty responsive. And I can't tell you how many times I call up Darren and say, hey, I need you to come adjust the lift. And he's like, when? And I'm like, well, I'm at the customer's house right now. Man, so another part of the boat buying process that's often overlooked, you're getting a boat, what model you're going with. Call up your lift company, say, hey, I've got a 280 outrage I'm putting on my lift. I need you to adjust my bunks. It's just going to be that much easier of a process. And they'll even adjust your guideposts too and stuff like that. So when you take delivery of your boat, Captain Keys there, it's hot. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon in July and August and everybody's sweating. Save yourself the time and the frustration, for doing that before it's too late. Get your lift squared away beforehand. And if you tell your lift guy what kind of boat you're doing, chances are he's already got the dimensions on hand.
Yep.
How many times do you show up to lift and it takes a little extra work?
If I'm using Pelican Lift Services, here's a little plug for them because they deserve it. Zero. Those guys, they're spot on every time. They're good. They're great. Best in the business. I've known Mark for, I don't know, 30, 40 years, something like that. I mean, it's in this business, it's hard to recommend somebody, because they'll leave you hanging. So there's very few people that, I'll put my neck out for, and I guarantee you, I promise you, if he says he's going to be there at a certain time and do the job, it'll get done. So.
Yeah, they've helped me out in more than one jam.
Yeah.
I got Julie here. How often to wash the hull to protect gel coat on boats stored out of the water? I mean, we usually recommend calling up a detailer every 6 months, huh?
Yep, for sure. I mean, yeah, to give it a good detail, but salt's your worst enemy. So, good boat soap and water, soft bristle brush, wash that thing down every time. Keep that salt off of there, and then, good wax a couple times a year.
Yeah, it's go a long way.
All right.
Nicole, can you explain green light, red light for nighttime? There we go.
Yep.
Also, how and where can you purchase the PVC pipe guides, and are they easy to install? I am no mechanic by any means. I've got a great, fantastic service team that does just about anything that involves turning a wrench for me. It takes me about 20 minutes to install those PVC guideposts. You can't mess it up. And, I mean, you get them anywhere. I bought some off Amazon. You get them through, the parts department at MarineMax. It'll take you 20 minutes to install them, seriously. So that's that. Can you explain green light, red light for nighttime boating? We talked about that a couple weeks ago. It gets a little difficult, especially when you're you've got red and green lights going every which way. When you get to different places of the country, you might see lighthouses and stuff like that are all going to mean different things. But, just for your basic, I get the question a lot, how come they're not all lit up at night, Keith? How come not every single red and green has a flashing light on it? What's the reason for that?
So on your channel markers, typically the ones that are flashing are going to be where there's a bend in the channel. It's going to be a lighted marker, or lit marker. So it's where there's going to be a turn. And if you're looking on a chart, underneath it, it'll say, FLR6S, let's say. That means that light, it's got a light characteristic, a light flash pattern of FL's flash, R is red, 6S is 6 seconds. So then you won't have that same red light flashing 6 seconds in succession. They're going to change as you're going along because depth perception is bad at night. So that's just, and your markers are, the red and green. However, she may be referring to the red and green, the bow light. So very important. If in the daytime, you can see another boat out there, right? We're running along and I can see a boat off to my starboard side, and it's called constant bearing, decreasing range. So if that boat stays right there at that heading and we're getting closer and closer, it's not getting ahead of me, it's not falling back, we're on a collision course. So just like you learned in driver's ed, when you're first learning to drive a car, you get to a 4-way stop sign the same time as another car, you're going to let the car on the right go first. Same thing in a boat. So as we're driving along, I'm looking over to my right and that boat's staying right there. I'm going to slow down or alter my course a little bit to cut behind it and let that boat continue on going on its way. Now, if we're out there at nighttime, I can't see the boat. All I'm looking at is the colors of the lights on the boat. So remember, we talked about port being red and starboard being green. Red also means stop, green means go. So as I'm driving along and I'm looking over here to my right, I'm looking over there, I'm looking at that boat's port side. So I'm looking at a red light. That red light's telling me to stop. She is looking over at my boat, which she's looking at the starboard side, which has got a green light up there on the bow. So she's got the green light to keep on going. I've got the red light telling me to stop. There's also going to be a stern light or a white light in the back of your boat. So if you're out at night and Nicole, you're running along and you see red and green, that boat's coming right for you. You need to get out of the way. All right. If you see green and white going along, you're looking at the starboard side of that boat. And then if you see red followed by white, you're looking at the port side or the left side of the boat. So, and then the white light, like I said, is a stern light. White light is also your anchor light, right, Nick? So if you're looking out on the lake or looking out in the Gulf or the bay, and all you see is one white light, one of two things is happening. Either that boat's driving away from you because you can't see the bow light, you're looking at the stern light of that boat, or the boat's anchored and it's not moving, so it's no threat to you.
I gotcha. Pay attention to details. Man, we are coming up on an hour here, but I don't care. We keep asking questions, answering questions. I don't know if you have any deliveries this afternoon, Keith.
Nope, I'm good.
Cool.
Gotta go home and cut the grass before it rains.
Yeah. Well, we have Landon DeGraff's good friend Bill asking, with the exception of personal watercrafts, would you recommend the inflatable PFDs or the vest style or reverses while traveling? Well, there's different classes of PFDs, aren't there?
Yep. So you got like a type 1, which is your big offshore type jacket, which is going to float somebody face up if unconscious. Then you got the 2s and 3s, which are more for nearshore boating, but they do not recommend, you cannot, it won't count. It's illegal, actually, I believe, to wear one of those inflatable suspender type jackets on a personal watercraft. You have to have like a regular vest type jacket. And also Those of you that got kids, even though they may have a big kid, you've got to be older than 16 years old to wear the inflatable suspender type PFDs.
Cool. There you go. Brian, I think you stumped me here. Why is the steering wheel on the wrong side in some boats? You know what's crazy? You know, not to go off on a tangent. Have you ever driven a boat with a joystick on the left-hand side?
Yeah, like a 510 fly. Like some of the fly bridges and stuff are set up over on the port side. Yeah, I just brought in a 55 fly today, and so the lower station, the helm's on the starboard side. The fly bridge, it's up on the port side.
Galleon 470 Sky's the same way.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if there's a right or wrong way. Is there? I mean, it's just kind of what we're used to, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's probably just, manufacturer.
Well, cool. Well, this has been a great episode, man. Look at all these questions and stuff like that. Guys, also one thing, I promise we will get to the questions next week. If you guys are, you know, working or whatever right now and you're watching us later when we're not live, feel free to drop questions in the comments. I look at them. Keith and I, we go through them before the next episode and we'll get them answered, whether it's for our service team or whatever, or we can answer them ourselves. But what are we covering next week, Keith?
Next week, we're going to go discuss our getaways program.
Right. Safety in numbers, right?
Absolutely, man. So you're going on a trip. We've got event and getaways coordinators throughout the country that kind of plan these events and getaways. And we're going to be talking about that.
Cool.
Actually, hang on here. Where is it?
You talked about the scalloping getaway, which you're doing next week. MarineMax really does a great job. I mean, man, I've had a lot of great memories down in Captiva.
Yeah.
And they do a great job. You know,
actually, Colin Milan is going to be on with us tomorrow, next week.
Cool. Well,
from over on the East Coast.
There's a lot of serious getaways over there with the Bahamas being a skip and a hop jump away. So want to thank everybody for joining us once again. Keith, thanks for dropping the knowledge. I learned a lot today. I can imagine that everybody did. And we'll see you guys next week. So once again,
one other little item. Believe it or not, a few days ago, I now have an Instagram account. So it's Captain Captain Keith Lake. And go ahead, follow me. See what this brings. So,
well, you're hooked now. So good luck.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.